Oh, I'm just getting started.
Wolverine. Who doesn't love Wolverine? You have the claws, the adamantium beast, and there's a new Wolverine coming? Are you kidding me? I love Wolverine, and I'm pretty sure you guys love him as much as I do too, of course, because he's one of the top 3 Marvel superheroes and also an integral character in the universe of the X-Men. We all have experienced the world of Wolverine in different ways. Some started going gaga over him because of the handsome Hugh Jackman. Some were besotted with him because he appeared in the 90s X-Men the animated series. And some fell in love with him by reading the comics themselves. Yet one thing is in common. All of these viewers, regardless of their experiences and reasons, Wolverine feels like the coolest character they've ever come across. Heck, even in The Boys, there's a character who parodies Wolverine. All of these things ascertain that despite fan favorites like Iron Man, Captain America, and etc. existing, nothing beats the kind of love comic book nerds have for James Halbert, aka Logan, aka the Wolverine. And with the Deadpool Wolverine crossover making its way into the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 2024, fans' love for Wolverine just amplified. And this video is absolutely for all those comic book nerds who've been glossing over Wolverine ever since the first ever comic book introduction of Wolverine dropped right away at their feet. And everyone knows the reason why. It's because a new comic book has just come out in 2026. And honestly, it looks very promising. And guess what? We're all traveling to Armageddon with this one. So before starting this video, I have to first make clear the main objectives of this video. Until now, 3 issues have been released of this comic book, and we'll explore all 3 of these comic book issues together while also celebrating the fact that the Marvel Universe is now gonna face a major twist in the tale. But before we proceed, let's talk about why the video has been given this title. The Wolverine has insane powers. But before that, let's talk about the necessary context that we need to know. First things first, we all know that Wolverine has spent much of his life as someone else's weapon in the shape of Subject 10X or Weapon X, a living experiment with an adamantium skeleton and a mind full of scars. The original Weapon X program is supposed to be dead, but the tactics still live on in new forms. Why? The multiverse, and if you're acquainted with whatever is happening in the Marvel Comics lately, due to this multiverse, strange artifacts called origin boxes have emerged from a new Ultimate Universe. The significance of them being that they can give anyone superpowers, be it heroes, villains, or even military agents and government officials, making them a ticking time bomb for Earth 616. Think of V1, a potion we see in The Boys, or Compound V. It's exactly like that. It all starts with Logan being dragged by an old acquaintance into rescuing a missing mutant named Tyler, a young mutant with strong regenerative abilities, who's been abducted by Prime Warrior, a military-based corporation that's quietly resurging the worst parts of the Weapon X program. Not by just recruiting soldiers, but also experimenting on the biology of kidnapped mutants and turning them into weapons. And to guard its wicked secrets, Prime Warrior has hired a classic symbol of government brutality, Frank Simpson, aka Nuke, now upgraded and even more heavily armed and volatile, appears as a bigger threat throughout this comic book, all while the origin boxes tie into the looming Armageddon event, which aims to reshape Marvel's lore. What starts as a mission to find Tyler, destroy the lab, and retaliate against the Weapon X legacy soon transforms into a frontline battle ahead of a universe-level turmoil. And that is exactly why, when you open Weapons of Armageddon and flip its pages, you're not just reading Wolverine hunts bad guys. You're seeing Logan face his past, battle with a new corporate military monster, and also the first tremors of Armageddon, all in one bloody 4-issue prelude to a majorly impactful incident. Until now, 3 issues have been released. So, are you excited for the exploration of this new comic book? Then brace yourselves, because we're about to discuss all 3 issues in detail. Issue number 1, the novel harbinger of adamantium claws. So the first ever issue, which we're going to explore, is no doubt very exposition heavy. If you've not stayed up to date with anything that's happened in the recent Marvel comics, then this issue may play with your head. For example, if you're not up to date with the new comic books, you may not know who Nuke is. You may end up thinking he's an all-new character. Plus, if you haven't checked out the recent Ultimate Universe lores, you may not comprehend what's actually going on, especially with those origin boxes. In a nutshell, this issue's main purpose is introducing all the major players that we may get to see in this comic book, and it's pretty foundational in the way it does it. So our journey starts with Logan being in this bar. As is expected from him, he's drinking, and he's approached by someone called Terry O'Barnes. Turns out that she was the one who found Logan for the Weapon X program, and that's why Logan is acting so unfazed and thus keeps on asking for another bottle and drinking more and more. If we look at the past of Terry O'Barnes, she was a mutant hunter. She has the ability to sense the X gene in people, due to which she can locate the mutants. And because of this ability of hers, she was hired by the Weapon X program as one of the key figures of the early Weapon X project. She found those mutants and presented them as the subjects so they could be tested on in laboratories, before being transformed into weapons for the corporate. In the initial meeting, we see Logan coldly rebuff her advances, eventually leaving her alone in the bar as she chugs the drink by herself. Very cinematic. But in the aftermath of that, we jump years ahead to Logan and Terry meeting under different circumstances, and Terry warns him about a company called Prime Warrior, as explained initially in our video. She says that she's desperately looking for mutants that have healing abilities. She also clarifies that she's been warning other mutants who may potentially be targeted by the corporate agency, and she wants to make up for her past by doing something that will actually save these mutants. And in the meantime, it also seems like Logan has a massive angst against the Weapon X program, and he's still not over how they were going to implant him with adamantium. But then, O'Barnes shows him the picture of a young mutant, like I mentioned earlier, Tyler Torrance. He's captured by Prime Warrior, and in order to set him free, she needs the help of Logan, and Logan agrees to join her. So, both are now seated in a car. However, we also see that Logan is deeply affected by the mental torment inflicted on him by the Weapon X program, as we see him having a nightmarish episode. Actually, Logan having nightmares or daydreaming about his past is a recurring part of the series, and you know what? It's absolutely necessary, considering that in the entire comic series, we're going to witness him facing his own past, especially due to the fact that he's on a mission to rescue all the mutants who were tortured to hell, just to be weaponized by these corporate agencies. Even if he doesn't know who Tyler is as a person, he still doesn't want him to suffer the same fate as him, primarily because he's young. So yeah, the duo finally reached the lab. It's in the Ozarks and is partially destroyed, or destroyed by someone, as it seems. Some terrorist bomber, according to the professor, has partially destroyed the site, due to which the scientists and workers from Prime Warrior are extremely infuriated, and that terrorist bomber is none other than Tyler, who will later be revealed to have escaped the laboratory. In the meantime, Terry and Logan impersonate the workers so they can infiltrate the place successfully, and of course by first handling the real workers that were present in this lab and stealing their protection suits. They then investigate the site and finally locate the evidence of an ultimate box being here at some point. Plus, they find video evidence too, that of the scientists experimenting on Tyler's body with adamantium and even increasing the dosage because Tyler's body is resistant to metal. In the midst of it, a real worker intervenes, but Logan escapes it by intimidating him successfully. However, as they both escape, the professor calls upon Major Frank Sampson, aka the Nuke, to catch the intruders. In the snowy forest, as Logan and Terry stroll, with Logan getting strange recollections of his miserable past, he's suddenly sniped by a headshot. However, he heals, changes into his classic Wolverine suit, of course the most casually iconic scene that has been put into the panel. While escaping, both Terry and Logan reach a secluded cabin. There, Logan sees a shield similar to what Steve Rogers possesses. However, he soon finds out that it's not Steve Rogers' shield, as David Colton makes his entry, holding Terry at gunpoint. He later reveals that Tyler's actually escaped the site. We're then made to focus on Tyler as David speaks, him completely shirtless and facing off some bear as he unleashes his adamantium claws. Damn, hello Tyler, the new Wolverine. You're so dangerous. A new partner in crime, while Nuke unleashes his rage nuke. Now, here we are at the second issue of this comic book, with Logan having already made his way into Colton's cabin. Considering that Colton is a relatively new character in the Marvel Universe, it looks like we're being promised a rewarding backstory and an elaborate introduction to our unknown Captain America. So, the journey of the second issue begins with Nuke and the Professor infuriated because, of course, Tyler, their main target, has escaped the site. They've been trying to track Tyler down so they can hold him captive, and also Logan. While they still haven't come up with an answer to who was the guy that bombed their laboratory, they still do know that Logan and Terry are involved in setting mutants free. And Nuke, as dangerous as he is, decides to track down where Logan's been hiding and then fatally attack him. Especially Terry, because Nuke has rightfully suspected that she's been warning the mutants who could become potential targets of Prime Warriors. Meanwhile, in the cabin of David Colton, both Colton and Logan engage in an intense fight following an argument, since Logan can't recognize him. During that, Logan notices that Colton is as efficient and skilled as Steve Rogers, which surprises him. Terry then identifies him as the unknown Captain America, who's been destroying the super soldier sites so they cannot do to others what they did to him. She also summarizes his experience as a former super soldier who was recruited by the United States government so they could replicate Steve Rogers. The government first dropped him into Iraq and Afghanistan, and then later into Latveria. However, it did not go well at all. In other words, Dave Colton was a substitute Captain America, created in a dystopian laboratory. However, after learning the program's true intentions, Colton abandoned it, and has since been living in reclusion, while also fighting against the super soldier agencies, deeming themselves capable of being each other's allies. Since David and Logan were both being used as weapons and treated with absolute cruelty, both team up and decide to get Tyler before Prime Warrior holds him captive. In the meantime, Tyler's hiding in a second-hand shop and is caught by a stranger with headphones on. In a panicked state, Tyler tries to convince him to leave him alone, but is impulsively agitated and starts attacking in a frenzy. The stranger gets intimidated and starts begging for his own life, saying that he's got kids and a family, which ultimately soothes Tyler, who leaves the place remorsefully, apologizing frequently. At the same time, through certain flashbacks, we're introduced to Nuke's origins and his relation with the origin boxes. He was transformed into an extraordinary being through insertion of increased adrenaline so he could take revenge against Logan. In a snowy place, Simpson is looking for Logan and Terry. Meanwhile, Terry, Logan, and Colton are also checking through a computer, and they find out that Nuke is almost nearby. This issue ends with a cliffhanger teasing what may happen for the next issue, as Nuke causes an explosion, destroying Colton's cabin. Outrageous. Issue 3, God Bless America and Dave Colton, the penultimate chapter. Now, here we are at the penultimate chapter of Wolverine, The Weapons of Armageddon. And this time, the issue opens with a flashback recalled by Colton, related to how he and his fellow soldiers were transformed into super soldiers so that they could help the country win a war, posing as substitute Captain Americans. In the recurring flashbacks, Colton recounts his experiences with his fellow super soldier Chuck, whose death during a super intense brawl with the enemy in their territory in an airfield prompted him to abandon serving as a super soldier and living in a hidden place, as he finally discovered that these experiments have a fatal flaw. To give context, Chuck was also one of the super soldiers, and also Colton's rival, who could have gotten in his way of becoming Captain America if he were alive, but died due to a side effect of the origin boxes. The flashbacks and present moments happening in this comic thus overlap in a non-linear fashion, highlighting how Colton himself is facing his past as the trio is facing the wrath of Frank Simpson, who's engulfed by his thirst for revenge and hence keeps shooting with a bazooka. During this violent sequence, however, Terry does not survive, despite shielding herself with the help of Colton's artifact. Colton and Logan get her seated in their car and try to get her to reach a hospital in South Dakota so they can see that she's taken care of. He then reveals that he probably knows where Tyler is, considering that they both had a talk when he stopped at his cabin. However, before anything can be done, Terry succumbs to her injuries and passes away. Logan also acknowledges her attempts to make up for her past mistakes, telling her that if she had died years ago during the time which she was a mutant who hunted mutants, she would have secured a spot in hell. That scene itself carries a heartfelt moment in an issue that is otherwise filled with violence and chaos, and looking at a cold-hearted, distressed character like Wolverine finally acknowledge her adds an emotional layer. Meanwhile, Tyler reaches the gate of the industry and is planning to take down the agency as he faces the security guards and tells them to let him meet their boss. However, the boss in question has something else in mind, and it's way beyond what Tyler is expecting. Before the issue ends, we get to see yet another flashback related to Colton, how he became the ultimate Captain America in the laboratory after Chuck's death. Just after this flashback concludes, the issue is brought to an end with a cliffhanger as we see Nuke in his monstrous upgraded form holding the unconscious Tyler captive. And all that image clarifies is one thing: Nuke is gonna be a bigger threat. Will Logan and Colton be able to outshine him now that he's in his upgraded state? Or will Nuke's revenge fantasy be successful? And if it is, will Tyler, the new Wolverine, be the one that will take Nuke down? I know, there are a lot of what ifs that are roaming in your head right now, and to answer all of them is, well, we'll have to wait for one more issue to arrive. But speaking for myself, I don't have the patience in me anymore. What have you guys predicted about the next issue? And what do you think about Tyler as this upcoming super powerful X-Man, the new Wolverine? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that bell icon to never miss any updates. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.